November 23, 1942, 750 miles east of the Amazon River, the South Atlantic Ocean, the SS Benlomond was a British cargo ship, slow, unarmed, and sailing alone through some of the most dangerous waters of the Second World War. On board were 55 men. At 11:30 in the morning, the German submarine U-172 found them, 2 torpedoes. The ship was gone in under 2 minutes. 52 men died in those 2 minutes. 1 man survived. His name was Poon Lim. He was 25 years old. He was a mess steward, the lowest rank on the ship. He could barely swim, and what he did over the next 133 days, alone on an 8-foot wooden raft in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, has never been repeated by any human being in recorded history. Poon Lim was born in 1918 on Hainan Island, off the southern coast of China. He grew up near the water, the son of a fishing family who sent him to school, a luxury most children his age did not have. When he was 16, his father made a decision that would define the rest of his life. Japan was advancing through China. His father feared Poon would be conscripted and killed, so he sent his son away onto a British ship, working as a cabin boy. The British merchant fleet in World War II was desperate for sailors. They recruited heavily from China and other British territories, but Chinese seamen were forced into subordinate roles: stewards, cooks, cleaners, regardless of their skills or experience. It was the British class system applied to the sea. By 1942, Poon Lim was the second mess steward on the SS Benlomond. He served food and cleared tables. He was not a fighter. He was not a soldier. He was a 25-year-old man who cleared dishes on a slow cargo ship. On November 10, 1942, the Benlomond left Cape Town, South Africa, bound for Paramaribo in Suriname. The ship was armed but slow, sailing unescorted through U-boats territory. 13 days later, it was gone. Poon Lim grabbed a life jacket as the ship went down and jumped into the sea. The ship's boilers exploded as he hit the water. He swam for 2 hours through burning oil and floating wreckage, past bodies, past debris, past the remnants of 52 men he had cooked and cleaned for. Then he found the raft, 8 feet square, about the size of a large bathroom. A small platform of wooden planks and canvas with a handful of supplies, some biscuit tins, a 40-liter jug of water, 2 smoke pots, a bag of sugar, some chocolate, a flashlight, and a few flares. He calculated the supplies would last roughly 1 month. He was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, 750 miles from the nearest land. Poon Lim understood one thing immediately. The supplies on that raft were not going to save him. His mind was, he started with water. He rigged the canvas tarpaulin as a canopy. It protected him from the sun during the day and collected rainwater at night. He was always thinking 2 steps ahead. Poon Lim's first challenge was to create a fishhook. He meticulously disassembled the flashlight, a precious resource, and extracted a thin piece of wire. He carefully bent this wire into a small, sharp hook. For a fishing line, he unraveled a length of hemp rope, patiently twisting the fibers into a strong, thin line. But this small hook could only catch small fish. For larger prey, he needed a bigger hook. He scanned the raft and found a large nail embedded in the wooden planks. Using the heel of his shoe as a makeshift hammer, he painstakingly worked the nail free. He then hammered it against the raft's metal fittings, slowly shaping it into a larger, more robust hook. His ingenuity didn't stop there. He realized he needed a knife. He took one of the empty biscuit tins and, again using his shoe as a hammer, flattened and sharpened its edge against the raft, creating a crude but effective blade. For food, he took the wire out of the flashlight and bent it into a fishhook. He used hemp rope as a fishing line. He pried a nail from the raft's planks and shaped it into a larger hook for bigger fish. He fashioned a knife from the edge of a biscuit tin, using his shoe as a hammer. He was not trained to do any of this. He figured it out on a raft in the South Atlantic, alone, because the alternative was dying. When a storm hit and destroyed his entire food supply and the dried fish he had carefully prepared and stored, he didn't give up. He adapted. He noticed seabirds circling overhead. He gathered seaweed from under the raft and shaped it into what looked like a bird's nest. He placed rotting fish scraps nearby as bait. He lay completely still and waited. When a seagull landed, he grabbed it by the neck with his bare hands. They fought. The bird cut him with its beak and claws. He won. He ate the flesh. He drank the blood. It was the first liquid he had consumed in days, but the blood dripping into the ocean attracted something worse. Sharks, a lesser man would have seen. The sharks circling and stopped going near the water. Poon Lim had a different reaction. He decided to catch one. He killed the next bird he caught and used it as bait on a braided line. He had doubled the thickness so it wouldn't snap. He wrapped his hands in canvas for grip. When a small shark took the bait, he hauled it onto the raft. The shark attacked him on the raft. He beat it to death with a half-filled water jug. Then he cut it open, drank the blood from its liver. It hadn't rained in days and he was desperately dehydrated, and sliced the fins to dry in the sun. Char fin was a delicacy from his home island of Hainan. Even at the edge of death, he remembered who he was. 3 times, the rescue came close enough to touch. A freighter passed within shouting distance. Poon Lim screamed at them in English. He spoke it fluently. Sailors looked over the railing at him, then turned away and kept sailing. A squadron of U.S. Navy patrol planes spotted him. One dropped a marker buoy in the water. He thought he was saved. Then a storm hit the area. The buoy was lost. The planes didn't come back. A German U-boat surfaced nearby. They looked at him through binoculars. They didn't help. Poon Lim believed he knew why the ship sailed past him. He was an Asian man adrift in the South Atlantic. In the racial climate of 1942, crews likely assumed he was Japanese, an enemy sailor. There was also another reason, equally terrible. German U-boats had a known tactic of placing a decoy survivor on a raft to lure a rescue ship close enough to torpedo. Stopping to help a lone survivor had become dangerous. He had become invisible. After enough of these near misses, he stopped counting days. There was no point. He started counting full moons instead. For full moons passed. On day 131, something changed. The water 131 days, the ocean had been black. Deep, lightless, open ocean black. On day 131 it turned pale green. Poon Lim had grown up near the sea. He knew what that meant. Land was close. Seaweed floated past. Seabirds flew overhead in greater numbers. He was approaching the coast of Brazil. On the morning of day 133, April 5, 1943, he saw a small sail on the horizon. He had no flares left. He had used them all. So he took off his shirt and waved it above his head, jumping up and down on an 8-foot raft in the middle of the ocean. The sail changed direction. 3 Brazilian fishermen pulled him aboard. They spoke no English. He spoke no Portuguese. They gave him water and dried beans and started the motor toward Belém at the mouth of the Amazon River. Poon Lim had been rescued 9 nautical miles off the coast of Para, Brazil. He had lost 20 pounds. He could walk unaided. He had been alone at sea for 133 days when he reached hospital in Brazil. Doctors were astonished at his physical condition. After 133 days of surviving on raw fish, shark blood, and rainwater, he was malnourished but functional. He had lost 20 pounds. He was walking. 3 days after rescue, when he had recovered enough to speak at length, he told his story, the full story, every detail. King George VI awarded him the British Empire Medal. The Royal Navy incorporated his survival techniques directly into their official training manuals, methods he had invented on a raft with no training, no tools, and no help. After the war, Poon Lim wanted to become a US citizen. There was a problem. The quota for Chinese immigrants had already been filled. His story had become famous enough to attract the attention of Senator Warren Magnuson, who secured him a special dispensation. He became a US citizen in 1952. He applied to join the US Navy. After surviving 133 days alone at sea, fashioning tools from scrap metal, killing sharks with his bare hands, and outlasting everyone's expectations of what a human being could endure, they rejected him. Flat feet, he went back to being a sailor. He worked for the United States Lines for decades, rising from messman to chief steward. He retired in 1983. He died in Brooklyn in 1991, age 72. His record of 133 days alone on a life raft still stands. No single person adrift on a raft has ever survived longer. When someone told him that, he said one thing: "I hope no one will ever have to break that record." That's who Poon Lim was. Not a soldier, not a hero by anyone's design. A mess steward who cleared tables on a cargo ship, who decided, on a raft in the Atlantic Ocean, that he was going to see land again. And he did. If stories like this are why you watch history, subscribe to Grim Echoes. Every week we find the ones they skipped in class. The next one is even harder to believe than this.